Welcome to GlideChat, where we give you the rundown of all things ServiceNow. Let's talk about the now, right now.
Hey everybody, welcome to a special edition of GlideChat. I'm Brett Karl, VP of Solutions and Alliances at GlideFast Consulting. Today, we're at Knowledge 24, wrapping everything up, and I'm here with Jessica Wine and Ryan Smith from Own Company. How are you both doing today?
We're awesome.
Let's
We're
go.
at home stretch of knowledge.
That's
Awesome,
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah, a lot of stuff going on this week. It's
Yeah.
great working with you. We just want to get to know your organization a little bit. If you could just give me the background. What is Own Company? Why are you here?
Yeah.
What service do you provide?
I'm going to let Ryan tell the story because I think it's good coming from him in terms of why he joined Own.
So I've been in the ServiceNow space for about 10 years, but there's a thing called the shared responsibility model. And basically what that means is the SaaS provider like ServiceNow is responsible, for effectively the example we use is like if you're renting a house from someone, ServiceNow is the landlord, okay? They make sure that the foundation is not cracked, the roof doesn't leak, and that's their responsibility and they do a great job at it. The data that goes in the platform or everything that goes inside of the house is customer responsibility. So a customer leaves, the windows unlocked, the door open, and someone comes in and takes everything. That falls on the responsibility of the customer. So that's actually a huge education piece that we've spent like the last few years kind of educating the ecosystem of. But I think once people find out that, you know, who's responsible for what, the product moves fast. So
Yeah. The driver really is our customers asking us
Yeah.
to move into the space.
Mm-hmm.
ServiceNow is becoming, obviously already is a critical component of the enterprise, but is becoming more and more critical. And so there's no one doing what we're doing. So we wanted to take advantage of like kind of being the first mover. If we are doing our job right, we will have others enter the space. But all that will do is validate, you know, the need to make sure that you have resilience with your data.
That's great.
Yeah.
Going back to Own and the products that you have, talk to me a little bit about what you can offer the customers for the ServiceNow ecosystem. Well, where are you targeting? What problem are you solving? We know that with ServiceNow, they have backup from their data centers.
Yep.
You know, that fits a lot of requirements for customers, but what are you able to add in addition? How are you able to augment that for the ServiceNow ecosystem?
Yeah, absolutely. Where I'll start is I think there tends to be kind of a misconception in terms of the responsibility that the cloud provider has, the SaaS provider has, and what the customer has, right? So when we think about what ServiceNow is doing to protect our data, they are they're backing up data. Really, the use case is to protect customers in the event that they're inflicting some sort of service interruption, right? So they have redundancy. They're responsible for uptime, availability. If ServiceNow, if there's a ServiceNow outage, these backups can be used, right? When we're failing over to redundant data centers. As a courtesy to customers, ServiceNow allows you to raise a high ticket in the event that you have some sort of data incident, and they recommend doing this as a last resort, but they do allow customers to use the backups that they've taken for their purposes of supporting their high availability architecture and allowing you to restore with one of those backups. So think of it as like a complete rollback, right? And the reason they caution against doing this and why it is a last resort is because it will create more data loss. You'll lose things that you wanted to keep. And I just say in general, if you think about the practicality of it, a lot of your customers are highly invested in the platform, right? There are many lines of business that depend on ServiceNow. And data incidents tend to be confined and contained to one certain area. So if you have a customer that's running CSM, they have their technology workflows, and maybe they have HR, and HR has an integration error that corrupts tens of thousands of records. try coordinating a full rollback with your peers, right, across the business. So it's not really meant to be a solution to be used for day-to-day things that happen like that. And this is true of every SaaS provider. We're obviously doing this in other markets, and SaaS backup is it's a mature, competitive market in other places. We're kind of first, and we're happy about that for now, but fully expect others to come in. Where we come in is we're actually allowing customers that have, they want an insurance policy. They want peace of mind. I want to sleep better at night knowing I have this important business critical process that I'm running on the platform. And if something happens to it, I can get part of that back, all of that back, whatever I want. I get to pick and choose exactly what I want back. And then further to that, when you talked about like areas of focus, there are, in highly regulated industries, there are many compliance reasons that dictate that you have to have backup. And in most cases, it is a third-party independent backup. You need to be able to demonstrate that you can restore from that. There are a plethora of operational resilience requirements that are kind of coming down the pipe right now. And this is going to be a conversation that you're going to have with your customers all the time, and we're having every day. So that's backup. I can talk through some other things.
Sure.
Whatever.
No, that's great. And I know it's very important in that space to have that redundancy, to have that reliability. And it almost seems as if ServiceNow has met the requirement of we will back up your data, but you've taken this a step further into more of a DevOps play, or to more of a repeatable long-term solution for the ins and outs. Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, ServiceNow actually, their 14-day retention they have, most SaaS platforms have nothing. So they're kind of going above the responsibility model. The shared responsibility model says that the customer is actually responsible for the data that goes in the platform, not ServiceNow. So ServiceNow is on the better end of that, in my opinion. So we kind of fill the gap from day 15 to 99 years, honestly. Most people don't find out. If they lose data, a lot of times it's human error. You don't realize that till 3 to 4 weeks, a month later, and that data's gone forever.
So your data retention is in perpetuity, the end of time, if people so choose. Where is that data kept? Where are you putting that data? Customers obviously want to make sure that things are getting back up properly. So what sort of security constraints is Owen utilizing?
Yeah, I mean, given that this is all that we do, when you think about any sort of security requirement around highly sensitive data, PII, PHI, we have every credential that you could possibly think of. Customers can choose whether they want to store their data in AWS or if they want to store their data in Azure. We may expand some of those options at some point. And with the AWS option, you could even bring your own storage as well. But typically, we're managing the storage. You can bring your own encryption keys, or we can manage those for you. So there's a lot of options. Certain things for certain industries are more important than others, but suffice it to say, we're able to kind of meet the customer's requirements, and to that end, also transact on the AWS and Azure marketplace, which gives customers an additional benefit of being able to draw down on any spend commitments that they've made with their cloud provider.
Okay, that's interesting. So if they have a spend commitment on the AWS or on the Azure side, they'd be able to capitalize on that?
Yeah. Yeah, one for one. So, if they're spending $100K with us, then they would be able to draw down on their spend commitment with AWS, unless sometimes there's even incentives that allow that to count for even more. But they draw down $100K with AWS. Like Ryan said, a big part of our strategy is working with and through partners, and AWS and Azure are certainly strategic. Before
we get into our partnership and what we've done and what we're doing together for our plans, let's go a little bit into industries. With GlideFast, we are hyper-focused on going to market on specific industry solutions and different industries as far as experience, expertise, and capabilities. What is Owen doing from the industry space? What are you targeting? Where are you headed?
Yeah, so I think obviously anything highly regulated, so financial services and HLS. We also play a lot with technology providers as well. That's kind of been emerging as we've moved into the ServiceNow market. But again, we kind of like cross all industries. Those would be the top. Compliance is a huge driver. Retention is a huge driver as well. But in other areas of our business, we're crossing the full spectrum.
That's awesome. That's great. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Let's dig into our relationship and how Ryan touched on it briefly with what you saw in GlideFast and how your path started with Own and how we bridged the gap. But what sort of things have you seen as any sort of benefits to the relationship between GlideFast and Own? How do we work together from your perspective?
Do you want to start?
Sure. So, I mean, the cultures was a big, the passion you guys have for the space, the culture Mike Lombardo and GlideFast has created over the past, what has been 8 years now. We want to be a part of that. We felt really lucky and very blessed to enter the ecosystem with a partner with your stature, and also to have you guys see us as an important solution coming into the ecosystem, right? To fill a really important gap. And so with that in mind, that was kind of the initial start of the partnership, and we went to market together and started, doing things like we're doing at Knowledge. I think this year was one of my favorite Knowledges because we kicked it off with a philanthropy event for the charity, for the poker tournament. I think you guys have a lot of soul. You're a soulful company, and it's you want to do great things in the ecosystem. But I think the poker tournament we did on Monday to raise money for the Joe and Juicy Foundation, which is, if people don't know about that, basically it helps families who are going through cancer treatment and help pay for expenses when they're staying in hotels and all that. And with Mike's journey that he's having with cancer and remission, it's great to work with a partner who sees the bigger picture, So that's obviously a huge draw for us. But also just the opportunity to have GlideFast help customers who are onboarding, Own, and we have a different philosophy in the ServiceNow ecosystem as far as some instances are so massive, you wouldn't try and back up an entire instance, right? And so GlideFast is helping us kind of go in there and scope the environments and say, hey, where does this data live that you couldn't live without, and do some of that implementations as we move forward.
Yeah, I'd like just double down on what he said. Like it's, and it's like somewhat formal in a setting like this, but I think we look at each other like family. We are very culturally aligned, and that's kind of why this worked out from out of the gates. Kind of similar philosophy on the ways that we go to market, but when you kind of take that a step further and you look at the art of the possible, even with your leadership, Brett, and your vision around partners, especially in your new role, there's just an opportunity for you guys. You guys are always thinking about a way to level up how you're working with your customers. And so now with a more formalized approach in terms of how you work with us and how you work with other technology partners, you're able to create offerings and bring expertise to the customer. They trust you. They're going to look to you anyway. You're going to have that type of interaction. And so I think it's just a really smart move. It's a natural progression. And, customers can look to you to say, what needs to be backed up. There's no one that knows their environment better than you. Potentially, you can help them manage that, and you can help them think about the bigger picture to make sure that when it comes down to an audit, that they're not coming back with findings that, hey, I have more work that I need to do, which in turn could potentially put off other project work that they had previously prioritized, right? So I think the partnership has been awesome. There's fun stories around how it started. And
yeah, absolutely. And I think that the culture fit, I think, is spot on in terms of how GlideFast is a work hard, play hard type organization. We want to help our customers. We're customer first driven for that org. and fully believe that Own is that same. To your point, Jess, as far as the solution driving, we look to leverage Own from disaster recovery, from any sort of an assessment for almost like a health check of how is your data being backed up, how is it being managed. Are you in a position to be successful if you ran into any data integrity issues? And by GlideFast being that sole source ServiceNow partner, and having that expertise with our over 600 employees, definitely it's a good fit.
Yeah.
It's a good relationship and partnership going forward. So thank you for that and for touching on that.
Yeah, and I think, Ryan brought it up earlier. We recently changed our name from Own Backup to Own. We did that because we do much more than just backup. In other markets, there's things that we do that ServiceNow already covers, like SaaS security posture management, who sees what, data classification, and we don't, we're not going to bring those things to market. But one area where we really saw a need is around the ability to seed production data into sub-production environments to help with testing or creating training data sets, and while doing that, obfuscating that data. So we've also brought to market a solution called Accelerate, and so you can build out the perfect kind of test or training data set that can complement the clone down process, right? Because that tends to require a lot of orchestration. Obviously can wipe out some work, and it's necessary, but in the meantime, so that you can move faster, we can all develop faster, move on to the next thing, allowing customers to get the data that they need into those environments is another thing that we can do.
And that's great. You've got more than one product. Right?
Yeah.
So Own is backup, it's seeding, Accelerate. Safe Harbor, what's the future look like? Any sort of a teaser for anything?
Sure.
We've done a corporate name change so that you can go further than backup. So what's on the horizon?
Can there be a podcast in 2024 without AI?
That's right.
So so if you think about what we're doing, we're allowing customers to snapshot their data every single day, maybe more frequently if you need it. And there are pretty powerful insights that you can gain from historical data. So yes, safe harbor, but the longer term vision is how can I take the data from my backups and feed my my large language models and gain insights out of that data, right? And kind of mash up cold storage with the live data that's on the platform. It's kind of the art of the possible, right? So that's where we're going with that. We're not trying to build our own kind of AI solutions or anything like that. We just want to give customers an easy way to feed those models and
Activate that data.
activate that data.
That's great.
Yeah.
Going back, Ryan touched a little bit on it. Give me a Knowledge 2024 recap. What sort of connections did you make? How have you were able to lean in with your booth and all of your employees that were here and make an impact to customers? Any sort of sessions that you had and end with our epic party that we had and collaborated on last night. If you could just dive in that a little bit.
Yeah. To what Ryan said, I think it was absolutely incredible to just see all of the love and support and generosity that the ServiceNow community brought on Monday night. We did a charity poker tournament, private poker tournament, and whether folks were playing in it or not, there's just awesome energy, and we raised $12,000 for the Joe Andruzzi Foundation. We've done these things before in other markets, and I'm really appreciative of Rich Klein, who ran our solutions engineering practice at Own. I think he stayed on. He's leaving. He's retiring. He actually stayed on just to help us with this, because I don't know poker, and so it was awesome. So I hope that becomes like a tradition as we
Absolutely.
move forward, and it gets bigger and bigger because everyone had such a good time. Fun stuff like that.
In this room here, we did a financial services compliance roundtable today and yesterday. That was just, I thought, went outstanding. We had Jeff DeMuro, who's the deputy CISO at ServiceNow, and Allison Lucy was a part of that as well from the security and risk department. And just, there's new laws like with DORA coming out in the UK and EMEA that's going to be affecting really worldwide compliances around what people do with their data in the financial services. So just trying to get ahead of that and get customers in the room who are going to be dealing with that and talk about how that affects their business and how we can help. And then of course the party at Jewel last night. Not having Mike was there in spirit, so that was great.
Yeah.
And that's the third year in a row, I think, right?
Third year in a row.
Yeah.
That was big, though.
Yeah, I know we had over
That was
2,400
huge.
people sign up for it, so we had quite the turnout.
Yes.
Have already great time. Get a lot of feedback today about how great of a party it
Yeah.
was, and
It was pretty crazy to look around. Last year was big, but it was just pretty crazy to look around last night and just see how many people were there. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I could definitely tell that there were more people in attendance this year at the conference. Just amazing energy. This space is is super special. For us, a lot of people that were here. We had about 50 people from OWN. A lot of that for them, it was their first time coming, and everyone has the same thing to say. Is this space is just full of amazing people who are so nice. Conversations are so productive, and I started in the space 2 years ago, and couldn't be happier that I made the move. It's the right place to be.
I don't know if you've been hearing this, but I've been hearing it a ton, and I agree 100% that this has probably been the most frictionless knowledge I've ever been a part of. And 20,000 plus people, so it wasn't like it was less people. It was more people than ever, and just I felt like it went smoother than ever. And granted, it's Thursday night. I think we're all tired, and I think ramping down. But looking back here in the last 3 or 4 days, it's been really nice, really pleasant.
What about for you guys?
Yeah, so we had a ton of booth traffic, met a lot of new customers, talked to existing customers, and really just focus on what we do best, solving those challenges, identifying pain points, and going towards a solution-based offering, going towards solving problems instead of saying, well, tell me what you need, as opposed to getting to the root cause of what it is. Because we're trying to help people and help organizations at the end of the day, and leveraging ServiceNow at the core of that. So for knowledge for this year, we sent 102 people. So it was our biggest push that we've had for knowledge. And unfortunately, Mike couldn't be here, and we missed him, but he's been in full contact and
Yes.
to make sure.
I feel the love from Mike.
Yeah.
And vice versa. It was so cool in the keynote. Did you see that?
Yeah,
That was great.
yeah, a great shout out from Nick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was awesome.
No, definitely a missing piece of energy, but your whole team just brought it and held it down. And, I'm assuming you had a super productive week. We've been camped out all together, so it's been good.
A lot of customer meetings, a lot of partner meetings, a lot of ServiceNow meetings. It's been great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Let's do it again.
Next year.
yeah. Yep. All right. So thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Ryan,
Thanks for the
it's good talking
partnership.
with you. Jess, good
Thank
talking
you.
with you. And this has been Own Company with GlideFast. And thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Do you have a topic in mind that you'd like to discuss? Reach out to us at glidefast.com and subscribe to our podcast for new episodes. Thanks for listening.